Okay, I've had a few students ask me about 23, and the reason I'll tell you that I have held off on doing a video on this one is because I want you looking at real prices for in the current stock market, okay? And I'm going to go into that in a few minutes. And what I mean by the stock market, this is where stocks are bought and sold. And then normally we think, well, you've seen pictures of it in the movie before, a bunch of people are shouting buy, sell, all that stuff. And that's the trading part. Now, the key is understanding what a stock itself is. A stock is a unit of ownership in a company. And in fact, the book even uses those exact words. It's funny because I've been using those exact words for years. So if you own one stock of, say, GM, one unit of stock, by the way, here we start using the word stock and share interchangeably. It would be weird to say one stock of GM. We would normally say one share of GM, okay, or CAT, or whatever company it is that you're interested in. So it is a single unit of ownership. The moment you buy a single unit of ownership, a single share, you are an owner of that company along with millions of other people. And so you just need to understand what you are when you buy that stock. You become the owner of the company. And that comes with certain things. You actually vote on certain choices that the company will make, and you share in the profits in the form of dividends. If the company makes a profit, the profit is divided amongst the owners, and you would receive a dividend. Okay, now a person who owns a share is referred to as a stockholder. They hold, they may not have in their hand at the moment, a share or a unit of ownership in that company, and so they are a stockholder. Now, the other word we're going to be throwing around is bond. Bond is slightly different. A bond is basically a loan that has been made to a large company or the government. You probably haven't seen them much, but the U.S. government owes a lot of money to Americans in the form of savings bonds, where people loan purposely and intentionally loan that money to the government or to large companies in the form of bonds. As I understand it, these schools here in Liberal were built with bonds that basically people purchased parts of the debt for these buildings, and the school district will pay it off over time. So that's basically what those are. Now, with that having been said, I want to come over here to the actual project. Project 23. And so I'm going to move that out of the way a little bit. And we're going to start looking at the assignment. Okay. So the assignment here, merge cells A2 to F2 and center a line. That's easy enough. Do they tell us anything? No, they just say key in the data. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and merge cells A2 to F2. Merge. And then center a line. Here it is. Okay. Center a line. Good. Let's see. Format columns B through F as currency, displaying two decimal places. Okay, so B through F as currency. That's easy. Now, a quick comment here. The book says is to center align. Do not center align money. The Securities and Exchange Commission makes it very clear that you should not center align money because it makes it harder to read. And it's sort of funny because the assignment we're doing, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, is what regulates stocks and bonds. So if they, particularly stocks, so if they say not to do it, it's a clear don't do this. Okay, now over here in this cell right here in Alpha 4, just want to key in the current year, 202, oops, 22. Good. And that put in the rest of them for you. Okay. So that was set up to automatically do that. And instead of widening all these columns here, we're just going to go to row number, or all these rows here. We're just going to go to row number 3, and we're going to go to format, wrapping, wrap. And you see what that did is that just wrapped these around so that it looks a little bit better. I mean, and let's see here. What else were we going to do here? Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put in the current data. And so the next place I want you to go is to Yahoo Finance. I really don't use Yahoo Finance that much. I prefer Google Finance, but all the books, for whatever reason, say Yahoo Finance. So we'll go to Yahoo Finance, YAHOO, FINANCE.com. I probably spelled it wrong. Yahoo Finance, good. Okay, now I'm only going to do one, and then I'm going to put in fake data because I want you to see how to do this yourself. And I don't want you just copying my numbers. I want you actually looking up the numbers for yourself. So let's go ahead and look at what that very first, and I'm going to move this over to here just so it's a little bit easier to find the two. So what we have in these in the quotation, or not in the quotation, in the parenthesis here, is the ticker symbol. The ticker symbol for a company is a shortened form of its name used in the financial markets. Okay, so as an example, the shortened form of Under Armour, the ticker symbol for Under Armour is UA. The shortened form for Nintendo is NTDOY, and you can see that across here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go, oops, I didn't do one more thing I was going to do here, which was to bold that. Good. Okay, so I'm going to come over here for UA Under Armour, and I'm going to find the price for what it's selling for right now. For how much would it cost to buy a single unit of ownership in Under Armour? So I'm going to come over here to this right here, type in UA, and it's going to show me all the things it might be. And of course, I want Under Armour. Okay. Now, what this is showing me here is that right now, Under Armour costs $15.56 for a single unit of ownership. $15.56 for a single unit of ownership. And it's actually fallen today. It fell 52 cents today. I don't want to go too far into the rest of this stuff. Now, this is showing, of course, after hours trading. This is a little bit closer to what it's selling for at this very instant. But what we normally use is the closing price or the actual price. The closing price is what was the price when the market, the New York Stock Exchange, closed business that day. And it was $15.56. You might, while you're working, you might see these numbers changing while you're doing your work. Don't be surprised, because if you're doing this during hours that the market is open, that this will be updated as the prices change through the day, and they do change through the day. So anyways, with that all said, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to go ahead and type in 15.56. Enter. Come on, enter. Okay, and because we formatted this as currency is why I put the dollar sign there for you. So I want to go back and see what Under Armour was selling for in 2021. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to click on the 5-year chart. Okay, I am going to go to full screen at this point. It just makes it a little bit easier to use. Okay, and this is March 31st. So I'm going to just grab this. And what I did, you can see I'm just pressing the left mouse button down. Okay, so I'm coming all the way over here. And I want March 31st, 2021. Okay, right there. Now, you can see over here, the problem is if I move much, it'll start doing weird things. March 31st. So, okay, there we go. So you can see that the closing price, and where it's getting that from is this point right here. The close, so at this point right here is where it was, okay? And the closing price was, if I can go back to 31st, $18.46. By the way, you can also see that over here. The thing, as I move, you see all that jump around, but you can see it over on the side there too. But the closing price 1 year ago today was $18.46. So 46, enter. Let's do another one, 2020. Okay, so we're going to go back to 2020. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down and drag across. Yeah, there are other ways to do this. Okay, March 31st, March 31st, 2020. And so we see that on March 31st, 2020, that the closing price was $8.06. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here, 8.06. Okay, and 2019. So let's go back to 2019. February, March 31st. Okay, undoubtedly that was a weekend, okay, because you see how it jumps between these two. So instead, I'll go to March 29th in this case. And its closing price was $18.87. So let's come over here and we're going to key in $18.87, 18.87. Okay. Go and get a single price from Nintendo, and I'll probably leave the rest of these up to you. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm just going to come up here to quote lookup. You see where it is right here, NTDOY. And you see right here, Nintendo Limited, and this is the one I want, NTDOY. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And we see that the closing price today was $62.91. Okay, right there is where I'm looking, $62.91. So I'm going to come back over here, 62.91. Okay, and I'm going to come back over here and go back 1 year. So January, February, March 31st, 2021. And 1 year ago, the price was $70.86 for a single unit of ownership. 70, oops, on 70.80. I think I said 70.80. Let's go back and look. Okay. NTDOY. Why am I not? Oh, hold on. Wrong month. That's why. Okay. That being said, yes, $70.80. Okay, was the closing price there. Now you'll need to just go back, okay, to find out what the closing price was in 2020 and 2019. Okay, and now at this point, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to put some garbage numbers in here because the next thing I want to show you is the process of actually making the chart. Okay, so 89.8, 91.8. What I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to find the actual prices for this stuff, okay? So I want you finding current and real prices for the day that you do this. Just letting you know what I want you doing. And you saw how to do that. So I put in some fake numbers here in Nintendo. Let's go back and see what GoPro is selling for today, okay? So I need to see what the ticker symbol is, GPRO. Let's come over here to GPRO. GPRO, and we have GoPro. Let me click on that. So right now at the close of market, it was selling for $8.53. So I'm just going to come over here and I'll put in 853. 8.53. Again, you need to look up your own numbers for when you're doing this, okay? And let's go ahead and find a number for a year ago. January, February, March. 331. So you see that 1 year ago today that the closing price was $11.64. Okay, so 11.64. And now I'm just making up numbers. 12.95, 89, and 15.87. Sure. We can do the same thing over here of Twitter and Coca-Cola. You can go look them up using these ticker symbols. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in numbers, okay? So just one moment. Okay, so I've just made up some numbers. Again, I want you to go and find the current numbers. And yeah, what I'm grading, I can go back and check. It's not that hard to check. I just don't want to, I don't want to look up all the numbers for you because I want you finding them for yourself. I want you to see the process of finding those numbers. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a chart here, which is going to show how these companies have been performing. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and select all of this. Okay, so having selected all of this, these up here, the years and the data, I'm going to come over here to Insert, Chart, and that's not what I wanted. Okay, not a big deal. I'm going to come over here to where it says Chart Type because we want to see change over time. And one of the best, and to move that, you see what I did? I just went to sort of an area on the chart, pressed and held the left mouse button down, and while I'm holding the left mouse button down, I can move that. We want to be able to show change over time. And that's best shown with a line chart. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select just that very first line chart one. Okay, that's ugly and it's wrong. Okay, so this is still not right because I don't see years here at all. Oh, it's showing me the years, but that's not really giving me any useful information. Okay, so we want to do one more thing down here. Want to come down here, switch rows and columns. Now I can see what's going on. So if this really were Nintendo's numbers, you would see that slow decline with Nintendo. By the way, you probably will see a decline when you look at Nintendo with the numbers that you get. And reasons. Okay, I could throw out a reason. I'm doing this in 2022, and so has there been a new game, a new Sony PlayStation released? Yes. Has there been a new Xbox released? Yes. Has there been a new Nintendo released? No. And so maybe not as many people are buying Nintendo. Okay, and you can see all of these. Now, yes, the numbers I put in, I want you to find your own and real numbers. And you can see here what we've got is showing how this is performing over these years and the value of a single share, how much it would cost to buy a single unit of ownership in those companies. Okay, just letting you know what this one here should be looking like. And so once you've got this one looking this way, and again, I clicked on switch rows and columns, and you can try clicking on these buttons to see what happens. Use row 3 as labels. That's as headers. That's ugly. Let's go back to that. That's really confusing and pointless. So let's go ahead and make those work again. Okay, turn that off. I'll eventually get back. See, okay, so what you're looking for here again, and this is sort of a new thing to a lot of you, and I know that you want to be able to show the value, how much it cost over time. How much did it cost in 2019? How much did it cost in 2020, 2021? So if you're asking yourself, well, is this chart right? Is this actually showing me what this cost? And not really, okay? So that's how one of the ways you know to go over here and start switching these things. Okay, so that was the first one, and that was our values for this, or basically your introduction on the stock market. And this is how you turn it in. Okay, now let's go to bonds. Now, bonds are a little bit different. Bonds are not purchasing a unit of ownership, you're literally purchasing a unit of debt. You're loaning money. Okay, so let's come over here, and what I want you to do is go to the source right here because these are going to be real numbers. Okay, with what I just clicked on, you're looking at the real value of the 20-year Treasury rate by year, or basically what kind of interest returns you would get with the 20-year within these treasury notes. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead, and I'm being very careful here, by the way, and I want to just go for the net for 20 years. So I'm going to go January 1st, 2020, and I'm going to come down all the way to 02. Control C. Oops, I did forget something on the previous one, and we'll fix that in just a minute, okay? So now I'm going to come back over here. Just going to go to row 5, good one, and paste. Control V. Now, those actually are the right numbers, but I'm going to admit that that looks really ugly, just the way that it's formatted. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to select all of this, and I can select all of it, by the way. And I'm now going to come up here to Format, Clear Formatting. Okay. And now it looks a little bit better. Okay. And we've lost a lot of that really ugly formatting. So next, I need to look at the book for a moment. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and select all of this, just like that. And we're going to make another line chart. We're going to be showing the change in percentage rate, bond yield, okay, the amount, the interest rate, how much money, what you would get over time. So let's come over here and we're going to insert another chart. Okay, and there's a chart showing bond yield over time. Again, don't copy my numbers. It's going to be easier just to go to that link, copy and paste, and you saw what I did. Okay, so here we basically see over time that overall the value of bonds has gone down. Okay, and this is relatively normal. People basic are less interested in buying bonds as the market goes up. We do see that the market has gone down. The stock market and bonds typically go in opposite directions. I really don't want to get too deep into this because it ceases to be relevant to what we're doing. But typically, if as the stock market values in general rise, bond values in general fall. In general, okay. So let's go back and format these a little bit because that's one thing the book wanted us to do here. So with the chart here, and we'll go back and format the bond chart in a minute. I'm going to come right here to the title, and I'm going to double click directly on the title. And you see that took me to something here called chart title, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to change that title to say stock and annual stock 4-year stock analysis. You'll notice that isn't exactly what the book says to do because they wanted you to look at it quarterly, and I believe quarterly doesn't tell you enough about the stock to get an idea as to what's going on, particularly when you don't already know. I'm going to center align that. I'm going to make the title text black instead of that gray. Good. Okay, and oops, and we're going to do something else here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click because I accidentally closed that. If you didn't close it, you're fine. I'm just going to come over here to edit chart, and I'm going to go to customize. And the other thing they want me to do is put squares at the year point. So I'm going to come over here to series, and I come down here to where it says point shape. I'm going to click on that, and they wanted squares. And you see how I put those little squares there? And they wanted those squares to be 7 point, just adjusting the size of those little squares. And actually, let's see here. And that is all they wanted us to do. So this one is now done according to the directions. Let's go back and look at bond yield and see how they wanted us to format this chart. So I'm coming over here to bond yield. Good. Okay, if you're looking at the book, they first want us to give it a title, so it doesn't even have a title right now. So we're going to go ahead and just click on Customize. We're going to come over here to Chart and Axes Titles. That should be relatively obvious. Chart title, they want us to call this 20-year bond analysis. That sounds right. 20 dash. Good. I'm going to center align that. I'm going to make the text color black. Okay, what's the next thing they wanted me to do? Change the series point size to 7 and do with a care. They want it square again. Why they want it square, I got no clue because I don't really like the square, but that's okay. Series, come down here and square, and they want those squares to be 7-point font. And again, that's simply showing the bond yield at that year. Okay. Anything that I did up here, I can't think of much that I did up there. What else do they want? Change legend to none. Okay, there currently isn't a legend on this one. And so that isn't useful because there is no legend. But legend is what tells you what the symbols and lines in the chart mean. Okay, so as an example right here, this section right here is the legend. It tells you what each of these colored lines mean. Like the orange one is Coca-Cola, the red one's Nintendo, stuff like that. Resize the chart. No. Okay. And that looks like it. So, assuming you get that far, it's a pretty simple assignment. So, it's just making a couple of different charts. Make sure that your charts are not over your data. To do that, what I did again is I went to the chart, just sort of clicked on it, press and hold the left mouse button down. And while I'm holding the left mouse button down, I can move the chart around so that it's not covering my data. And that was it for this unit.